All right, guys, let's get that audio check done. See if we can. We're going to be broadcasting as usual out of Texas, but our guest is in Hawaii, so we've got make sure this sound is good. Good, audio is great, excellent. So we have a special guest in the studio today. I'm going to make one announcement, and that announcement is that we are already selling tickets, multiple tickets daily, for the Houston meetup on December 7th, where I'm going to be doing my very first office presentation, and I'm going to be taking information from the participants and giving back actionable data, showing on the screen. Yeah, guys, this is amazing. We're about done. This is still beta testing, but it can still show some actionable data. It still shows amazing results. So no system is ever going to be perfect, but that's basically my only announcement. We're still selling those tickets. I know we will be sold out long before. Ordinarily, we take cash at the door. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. They're very strict on capacity there. So aside from that, I really don't have a lot of announcements. We're just going to move forward with this video. The subject matter of this video about what happened in Hawaii, and I believe our guest is prepared to talk about similar incidents at other locations at different times. Also, this is heavily upon our minds because of what is now going on in Carolina. We are not deceived. We understand. It doesn't matter if one is water and one of them is some type of other energy or fire. We're still dealing with the same circumstances. The reason this is an Archaix presentation is because my very first video 4.5 years ago, I told you what the elite are doing. I told you what their agenda was and how important it is to them. They've only got less than 16 years left to prepare, and and these preparations are necessary. And while all this chaos is going around on the surface, they're bedding down and they're securing all those areas. They're getting the mineral rights. They're doing the things that they need to do to strip mine different areas to get ready. Most of those underground facilities have already been finished. There are many people living in them now. So, but that's not the subject matter of this video. Hawaii is, and tangential topics, but it is an Archaix concept. This ties beautifully in with the Phoenix phenomenon research. So, without further ado, Michelle Melendez is waiting in Hawaii, and she's just wondering when I'm going to click her in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
Hey, aloha, everyone. I love what you said, Jason, because you're so right. I mean, there's a lot of us here on the island. I have a friend of mine who works for national security, and we've talked about the bunkers here, even under the islands here, and the fact that a lot of the billionaires are basically taking up the land here. And we're going to be talking about Great Maui Land Grab. It's my book that I wrote, Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next? And you can get it at greatmauilandgrabbook.com. But Jason, much mahalo for having me on today.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you now, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books.
I got your book.
Yeah, I do not have that book, so I'm going to need to invest in that one. That's easy. I'll get it off Amazon, but I have not ordered your book, so I need to get that.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you a copy. For sure. But yeah, today what I'd like to talk about is the comparison. I have a whole presentation slideshow comparing Asheville to Maui, and what's going down there is very, very similar. So should I just get started with the slideshow?
Absolutely. Hey, let's go. Say that's the way I like it. Let's get that data.
Let's see. So let's go to I'll do a share screen then.
Okay. Are you familiar with StreamYard?
I have done StreamYard. I haven't done an enter screen. I haven't done the there it is. I haven't done a slideshow with this. Okay. Can you guys see my?
No. When you're doing things correctly on your end, I'm going to see a little window and I'll click it in. So you need to present on the bottom.
Okay, clicking on that.
And then you want to share screen.
Share screen.
Then go up and share entire screen.
Share easiest 2 minutes. Share screen where it's. Screen sharing is easiest with 2 monitors. Oh, I don't have 2 monitors, but
You don't
share
have to
screen.
read all that.
Click on
You
that.
just all you
Window.
do is click on the
Got it.
share
Got it.
share entire screen. There it is right there. We got it.
All right.
You and
Good.
I are still, everybody can still see you and I. We're on the side.
Okay. Can you see my presentation now?
No, we see your desktop. You're gonna have to pull your whole window down to show your desktop. Because you're sharing entire screen, you need
Oh, I see.
you need to
How's
minimize.
that? Okay. All right, guys, I'll get it figured out.
Yeah, that's not it either.
Stop sharing, hide. Okay. Oh, this is a really good one too. Let's see here. Stop screen. Stop screen. No, I don't want to stop screen. So I want to minimize that. So
So do
I
you have
minimized it.
so do you have video clips?
I have a whole slideshow presentation on my desktop. So I'm
Okay,
doing
so
share
when
screen.
yeah, that's a harder one.
Window.
That's a harder one. In order to share,
Oh,
if they're not Google Slides, because they're going to make you put them into Google Slides. If they're not Google Slides, then you share. Then you show you blow the slides up on your desktop. Then you share your desktop, and the only way we can see it is if you pull the screen down, get it out of the way so we can see your desktop.
mm-hmm. So let's see here. So I'm pulling you guys down. Share. I'm going to share there. And now I'm pulling you guys down. Can you see it now?
We see the
You guys
same
are
thing we saw
minimized.
before.
Ah! Okay,
Yeah.
share your show. Sorry, everybody. Present. Stop screen. All right, let's see here. Video file, no. All right, well, I really want to show this. Share screen, we'll try one more time. Window, StreamYard, Keynote, that's the one I want. I'm just going to do entire screen though, because I hear what you're saying. So it's entire screen, and then is it there?
No, we don't see anything.
Because I'm minimizing it, everything. Oh, okay.
How many images?
Well, let me just talk.
How many images do you have?
I have a lot. I have a lot. I have
Wow. Yeah, we should have been.
16 on this one, and the other one has and then the Maui Land Grab has a lot as well. But I don't understand because I'm sharing the screen, share screen, and I'm actually more savvy than
Look,
this.
it's no big deal. Listen, if you can real quick, you can just email them to me. If they're just JPEG images, because sharing a video is super easy. But well, yeah, if you share a video, it automatically populates the screen and shows everybody the video. But when it comes to images, it's totally different. But if you were to email those to me right now in the show, I could show them.
Okay, it's a whole keynote presentation. It's a whole slideshow presentation. So let me try this one more time. That's not going to work. Entire screen.
Yeah,
okay, so you guys are seeing my entire screen, right? I can't believe it. Share
you got to
screen.
present. You got to push the present key.
Yep, I got that. And then I'm doing entire screen, and then I click share. And Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen to fix systems. All right. Okay, I think I got it, you guys. If already checked, click. So I think I need to go to the systems preferences to unlock. Google Chrome preferences, system lock. So let me just try that because this presentation is. I've been spending 3 days on it to get it to you guys. So
Yeah,
let me see if I can just quickly do that.
Present. I'm gonna present slides. So yeah, if you don't have slides loaded like on the Google Slides, you can't use the slide feature or the extra camera feature. But the video file feature works fantastic if you have video clips. Now
I have a ton of video clips. I have a ton of video clips.
Okay, that's cool. Video clip. So also the share screen. If I click on the share screen, it gives me options. I share screen. So when I share screen, at the very top it says entire screen. So you have to go over and click onto that actual screen that it shows after you hit entire screen. And then it says share. So I'm sharing my screen now. I just use that procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And now once I get to here, Michelle, you can't see the pictures I want to show. So what I do is I go to the top of my screen and I pull the whole screen down so I can click on to, like, here's my next video right here. I'm about to do a whole presentation on Truth Revealed, Flight 370, what really happened. This is my next video. I'm going live on this right here.
So
but that's exactly what I did.
You know, I think what we should do is, how about if you go to standtogetherhawaii.com, just go to standtogetherhawaii.com, and I can show you, you can actually show your screen, and I'll show you some things about what happened in Maui, and then when we finish that, we can go over of how it's comparison to Lahaina, or I'm sorry, to Asheville, because there's a lot of comparisons. But go to standtogetherhawaii.com and then click on Maui Fire, and then you can take a look at that, and we'll scroll down there. There is a picture though that when we get to the bodies that were in Maui, I want to send to you. In fact, I'll do that right now, because there's a body, and just warning here, it is very graphic. It shows that there's no way possible that the Maui fire happened naturally. There's absolutely just no way. So when you get over to the standtogetherhawaii.com, just click on Maui Fire, and we can scroll down. But what I want to share about the Asheville and the Lahaina, what happened, both of them, they're both set for smart cities. They're both set to be smart cities. In 2011, 2016, Maui was set to be the first smart. There was actually Japanese and Hawaiian stakeholders, and that word is really, really important, the word stakeholders, that decided that Maui was going to be the first smart city. What people don't know is that Oahu, where Honolulu is, was not the capital of the Hawaii Islands. Lahaina was the capital of the Hawaii Islands in ancient times. It was like the seat where King Kamehameha ruled over all the islands was in Lahaina. And Lahaina also had a ton of waterways. Natural water springs were coming out, and they actually got diverted to the hotels and the golf courses, and that's why Lahaina became this really dry area.
I don't think this is the website you were talking about.
No, it's standtogetherhawaii.com. Standtogetherhawaii.com. Yeah.
I got you. All right, that's not going to work then. All right.
Yeah, and so the other thing I want to share about both Lahaina and Asheville, so they're both set to be smart cities. And then Asheville, a lot of people are talking about the lithium mines. They're actually going to be they actually have the lithium mine is actually in Kings Mountain, not in Asheville, but they want to put a lot of their companies and structures in Asheville, and they were actually asking people to sell their property before the disaster in Asheville, just like they were doing in Lahaina. A friend of mine who's a doctor, chiropractor, he actually told me that back in the 90s, he went over, he's a natural native born Hawaiian, and before way before the fires and the disasters, he actually was going to rent property in Lahaina. And the lady, he says he remembers going, and his friend was crying, and she said that the investors are trying to purchase the land and they don't want them to purchase it. So what happened in Maui is that the governor suspended 20 laws before the fire. And the first one he suspended was the historic preservation law. And that law, see, Lahaina was a very historical town, a very small beach town. You could not build in that town. And so, but now it's gone. It's absolutely gone. What happened in Lahaina was, and in Asheville. So in Asheville, we're seeing a lot of social media blasts about there was a helicopter pilot that was told he would be arrested if he went back and tried to rescue more people. In Maui, The roads were blocked by police officers. Many locals stated this, including a friend of mine who barely got out. She actually had to tell her daughter, "You go around this police officer because the fire is coming." And they were the last people to get out of this one area before they completely blocked it off. So the other thing around it is that the weather, and this is what I really wanted to show you guys. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? You said I'm going to send you this. You have got to see this. I'm going to send this to you because on your email, because you have to show people this. The hurricane was they can move hurricanes. They actually have there's a US patent, and I'll send this to you as well, that literally has controlling hurricane and tornadoes so that they can actually control where they go. And the other thing I wanted to share about Maui, so going back to Maui, we're going back and forth. So the hurricanes, Asheville, North Carolina, and the weather modification that happened in Maui was a lot for one. But the day before, there were these linear clouds. The friend of mine who lives on Maui, who has studied the weather for 15 years, he's studied the weather. And he said he's never seen anything like that. He actually was sitting on his lanai and saw these linear clouds. And then a friend of mine, again, who works for national security, just happened to be flying over Maui on August 7th, the day before the fire. And she saw these square clouds and then blue sky, and then square clouds and then blue sky. So she saw this pattern for miles and miles. Maui sits in between two HAARP domes, and HAARP dome is the first one is on Oahu, and it sits in the Honolulu harbor, and the second one is here on Big Island, and it's up in Hawaii, and Maui is right in between them. And the HAARP is high frequency. It actually, what HAARP does, it's a big huge dome, and it heats up the ionosphere, and it changes the weather. It can change the weather. It can bring on weather. It can move it. And Maui sits right in between. And so the day before, there were these linear clouds. And then the day of, and the linear clouds would go up to the Hawaiian Islands, but they wouldn't pass the Hawaiian Islands. So they'd come right up to the Hawaiian Islands, and then all of a sudden you see blue sky. And this is satellite images. And let me see if the standtogetherhawaii.com page, if you click on the Maui fires, the weather modification.
I can't get. Listen. Maybe it's because I'm in Texas, but I just tried twice. Once on Google and once on Microsoft Bing to access that site, and I can't get it.
Wow, they're loving us today. So I sent you the video on the weather modification for the hurricane Helene, because it shows how they moved it there. First, people have to understand is Asheville is in the mountains. It's a minimum of 2,000 feet elevation. So I sent you those two links to your email, and so it's in the mountains. None of them had flood insurance because the possibility of there being a flood in the mountains was extremely rare. So they didn't have any flood insurance. And the video I just sent you, it was the first link, emailed it to you, from Dave Wigington, who actually shows the satellite images that these frequency clouds were literally moving the hurricane. They were actually literally moving the hurricane, and it moved it right over North Carolina, and it stayed there. That's exactly it. It's like a minute and a half if you want to show that. Video.
I can't show it because all it takes is a single complaint and I get a copyright strike.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Well, this video, I'm going to put this also up on my YouTube as well. And that's Blossom Inner Wellness. I think you have the link in the description. But you see those blue clouds, that's frequency. And the green and yellow, that is the hurricane. And it literally moved the hurricane right over North Carolina, and it stayed there. And so what happened in Maui, Lahaina is this beach town that right behind it is this huge volcano / mountain. So it didn't get a lot of wind. It was really rare for Lahaina to be really windy. But the day of the fire, the wind was 30 to 80 miles an hour. And the fire went in different directions than the wind. It went in all 4 directions, this fire. So it actually jumped over a construction site. There was a construction site with open beams, 2x4s, all kinds of wood. It literally jumped over it, didn't touch it, didn't singe anything, and it melted the cars, all of the cars in the parking lot next door. Completely melted all the cars. The glass was melted out. The aluminum rims were melted, and the trees were still there. And so you guys can see these pictures at the Great Maui Land Grab book that I have. So the wind was coming down, very unnatural, not normal for Lahaina to have that happen. The fire was going in different directions. I interviewed a 48-year arborist right after the fire, a few weeks after the fire, and he literally said he's gone to many fire locations over 120 times, visiting them, and he said maybe 5 were natural. There's pictures of Paradise, which is where my first job was, in Paradise, the Tubbs fire in California. All of them show exactly the same thing as Maui, which is complete white ash. The home is gone.
Hey.
The trees are still there. The plastic trash cans are still there. The plastic dog houses, the plastic children's playgrounds are still there. Nothing's melted that's plastic. But unless it is touching metal, and also these wooden fences, just where the barbed wire fence was that wrapped around the wooden 2x4 that went into the ground, where that wire was, where the metal was, that's where the wood was burned. And I asked the arborist, I said, how is this possible? How is it possible for a fire to not burn a tree? And he said, because the chemistry of the fire doesn't recognize the organics of the organic living material. It doesn't recognize a living material. So Jason, can you click on I sent you standtogetherhawaii.com in your email, so I don't know if you click on that, if it'll go to it or not. But
I might be able to go through it to the email. Let me look.
So if you can, because I'll show you some of the bodies. There is a body that's not on that site that is really disturbing, and I'll just explain it to you. But it is in the book. Great Maui Land Grab book.com is the book. But there's 2 images on standtogetherhawaii.com. If you scroll down to charred bodies, you'll see a dog that is lying down.
I'm looking for where you said you sent
email.
You said you sent the video.
Well, I just sent you the link.
Okay, it's the last email. Okay.
I just sent. Oh, okay. Let's see here.
Well, Maui was attacked. Hey, I got it. Maui was attacked. I got it. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, the dog still has his ears, still has his nose, still has his paws. You can actually see the fur. When you look at it closely, you can see that you can see his fur. You can see which direction his fur is going into, but he's charred. He's completely charred. And a friend of mine, he showed me, and he had a toad. There it is, right there. Yes, if you scroll down to charred bodies, it should be. Let's see here. I'll look on mine.
Wow, there's a lot on this website.
Oh, I've spent a very long time on this thing. A friend of mine.
Breakdown.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my friend, he went to Lahaina, and he found a toad in the burn zone, and the toad is literally fully intact, but it's hollow from the inside. It's absolutely hollow from the inside. and I'm trying to find it myself here on here. We actually sent a piece of it to a doctor who said he could test it to see, you know, if it was microwave or what it was. Oh, there it is. It's humans. How do humans and animals not burn in a fire? So you can click on that. And let's see, do I have that? I don't have the toad in here yet. But we actually sent that toad to a doctor who said he could test it for us, and then he never got back to us. He never replied. He wouldn't reply to text messages or emails. He didn't return the sample. I actually called one of his colleagues, and the colleague contacted him. He still wouldn't contact us. Then my friend who had the toad gets robbed, and the toad is now gone. So,
of course, I mean that's how the operatives work. That's been going on.
Absolutely right.
That's been going on in the archaeological community for 150 years. We found giants, man. We found giants. We have found human anatomical anomalies. 6 fingers with extra digits on their feet and hands. Long craniums. All that. They all get stolen.
Yep. So that was stolen, and but we talked about that. Then there's this body that my friend that's never been on social media. I've never seen it anywhere, but it was from a private citizen. And we actually have a compilation of a lot of private citizens through a friend in Oahu named Bodhi. So mahalo, Bodhi, for that. This body is half charred. I actually have it on my Blossom Inner Wellness channel. Let's see. Hey, Jason, if you could go to YouTube and go to my Blossom Inner Wellness channel, I can show you that video, because that video has a very, very disturbing body. When you look at all of them, it's the most disturbing one because it's half charred and half normal, and it's
okay. So you want me? So I can show your YouTube video.
Yes, go to Blossom Inner Wellness on YouTube and then click on, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th video from the beginning, from the current one. It's Lahaina fire victim, for fire victims prove the fire was not natural. And I'm going to click on it and mute my screen and find the timestamp for it for us. Because this body has...
What is it called? Blossom what?
Blossom Inner Wellness. Blossom, BLOSSOM, Inner, INNER. Yeah, wellness. Cool. And then it's Lahaina fire victims prove the fire was not normal. And it's timestamp 12.
12 at the 12-minute mark?
Exactly 12-minute mark. You will.
All right, y'all ready? Are you ready for this?
And you'll see half of it charred. It's horrific. This person ran out the bottoms. He doesn't have any bottoms on, but so his privates are covered by a circle. And you can literally see a line right down almost the middle. It's not fully the middle. It's more on the right side. His head is just stiff, and his arm, his right arm, which is above the ground, charred, floating in air.
Okay, hold on. I'm doing a video within a video, so I got to be careful. I got to mute it because it's got you got audio on there.
Yeah, mute it.
Wow. Okay, so I will mute it. Good.
And actually,
all right.
You go to if you go to 11 minutes, 11, you'll see the first part of the body, and then the 12 goes to the second side.
11:24. Oh man, that's terrible.
It is. It's horrific. This is just a warning, because this is a human body. This is someone's auntie, someone's uncle, somebody's, I think it's a man, somebody's, father or son. And it could be any of us. This could be any of us, you guys, because this is an attack on all of us. So this part, yeah, I can see it. That's the right side, and this arm is floating on the ground. It's just an arm that's floating on the ground. It's above the ground, and you can kind of see the ribs, or there's some type of burn, but it's not fully burned. That's not how human bodies burn. So on the other side, if you go to 11 minutes, you'll see the other side, which completely looks normal. completely looks normal on the other side. So how do bodies burn this way? They can't burn this way. So again, the arborist who I interviewed, he literally said that the chemistry of the fire, which was a microwave chemistry, doesn't recognize the organic material. And there is a US patent for a laser, a sapphire laser, which is a blue laser, sapphire is blue, that has microwave technology. And so you can go back to Stand Together Hawaii and scroll down to direct energy weapons, and you can click on the patent is on the bottom, and it's the US patent 637743, microwave transmission using a laser generated plasma beam waveguide. And this a lot of people know that things that were blue didn't burn in this fire. Oh, so you saw the other half of the body, that human body, that was somebody's uncle. And he ran out, no clothes on, and then something hit him super, super fast. And hopefully, thank God, hopefully that he died right away without any pain. But then it shows this is trees burning from the inside. The trees that burned the most from the inside had the most water content. And these are 3 guys that survived the fire. They're taking this video, and they're trapped literally because they blocked the roads. Lahaina Luna down on Front Street. They're in the car filming these guys, and they had to leave the car. That's how they survived. These guys survived because they left the car. The police officers, they blocked the roads, especially from Front Street. There was one way in and one way out, which is exactly happening right now in Asheville. This one woman's talking about one way in, one way out. And a fire chief actually is the one that told a helicopter pilot that he would be arrested if he went in to rescue anybody. But in our instance in Maui, this was the police chief, who was the same police chief who worked the Mandalay Bay in Vegas shooting that left a ton of questions. And they're going to show a body. This is a body. And these guys are freaking out. They're like, what is going on? I interviewed a state representative, Ellie Cochran, who said that she grew up in Lahaina. She still lives in Lahaina. She barely escaped the fire. She said she was driving through, and she said there were fireballs coming down all over. And this other man was saying there were explosions happening all over. So the other reason is, if you go to Stand Together Hawaii, you can scroll up and click on blue, under how do humans and fire not burn, and right under that you'll see why didn't blue burn. But blue doesn't burn because the color blue has the same wavelength and frequency as the laser, and it reflects it. So we had like 6 blue t-shirts. Somebody found 6 blue t-shirts in the ash. He literally pulled out these blue t-shirts, not a scorch, no holes, no burn marks, and they're sitting in the blue ash. He pulls a blue paper ticket out of the ash, a paper ticket. He literally pulled it out of the white ash, no singe marks, nothing, no holes, no burn marks at all on this blue ticket. And of course, the blue umbrellas that a lot of people have seen. My friend has, let's see if I can just show you guys. It's here. It's not on this one actually, but a friend of mine has a blue stove. All of the outside of this blue stove is completely charred. The glass is melted. The racks are warped, but inside this stove is a beautiful royal blue color, shiny. It's shiny inside this blue stove. And we think that's the only reason why the stove was still standing, because most everything else was just turned to white ash, completely gone. So I did want to show if you scroll down, Jason, you can see the Direct Energy Weapons Acquisition Act, and it's it's the first one at the Direct Energy Weapons. And the reason why I also started researching, because I was so angry. I had been doing the COVID, standing up against that. But when the Hawaii governor went to the United Nations and told everybody that it was climate change that did this, I was like, that is crock. That is a crock of baloney. And I'll share with you experts. They're on this page, experts that share that. So if you click on the first one, Act of 2016, that's the Direct Energy Weapons Acquisition Act of 2016. They spent in the 1960s, they spent over $6 billion in the 1960s to try to bring this direct energy weapons system, the Department of Defense, DoD, to fruition, to bring the project all the way to completion, but they couldn't do it even with spending $6 billion in the 60s. So this Acquisition Act, Congress took over the direct energy weapons system and brought it forth and finished it with our tax dollars. With our tax dollars, brought this direct energy weapons systems program to completion. And they use, and this is my opinion, but I believe that Maui absolutely was attacked. And this is one of the ways that it was attacked. Yeah, so let me see what else I want to share with you guys around what happened to Maui. There was, oh, that's the other thing too. One of the reasons is, my book is called Great Maui Land Grab. And the reason is because first, what happened in Asheville happened in Maui, with both of the residents being solicited by people that wanted to purchase their property before the disaster. Then what happened in Maui, the legislative body tried to pass a bill called 3381, which literally takes the entire west coast of Maui, and gives it to one governing board, takes it out of the Maui governance. It takes it out of the Maui governance. The entire west coast of Maui, they wanted to take out of the Maui governance and give it to 9 people to govern. 9 people that would be able to make sure that pass bills that protected people's health and well-being, and did a lot of other things with this bill. And one of the biggest things they were going to do was collaborate with government officials and stakeholders. So remember back when I was talking about how Maui is going to be the first smart city? Hawaii and Japanese stakeholders are the ones that decided that, not any elected officials. And the word stakeholder is very important for everybody. If you're watching this, go to your general plan and look and see if the word stakeholder is in your general plan, because here on Big Island, our Big Island general plan for 2045 has stakeholder written 26 times in the general plan, has homeowner written 0 times. So we have one more day to, one more meeting to go to here on Big Island to voice our opinion about this general plan. And I've already been in to see the manager of the general plan once, but I'm going again tomorrow. So this is an absolute land grab, because what's happening, I was talking to, again, Ellie Cochran, who's the state representative of Maui. She said they're still moving forward with that bill, even though it didn't pass. They're still doing a lot of the things that are in that bill, even though it didn't pass.
So it always happened. Just like the 2016, the PDF you just showed me about directed energy weapons and the funding controversy and Congress taking over in 2016, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's BS, because it's an excellent way to cover up the fact that 9/11 was a directed energy weapon. So
yes,
to pretend that it hasn't reached funding all the way in development in 2016 is just another way to deny that 9/11 was actually that type of weapon. Now, I just want to interject before you continue. There's a lot of people who doubt these type of technologies exist, but even in the local private sector, we have access. They're expensive, but we have access to a lot of technologies that are perfectly legal. All you have to do is imagine something like this right here as being a whole different frequency. This right here is a blue laser. I don't know if you can see it the same way, but it burns. It is a laser. It, all,
That's
it
right.
actually, I'm talking about you can't leave it on your skin very long. It is a blue laser, but these type of technologies, they're everywhere, and they're used in medicine. They're used in like computer circuitry making. They're used in hell. We're now using them in surgeries. They're everywhere. This one right here is pretty powerful, but it can also be used for all kinds of. You can do anything. This literally stays and has the same integrity on a cloud a mile high. It does not distort. It has a whole lot of different settings, but it could be something as simple as 4 or 5 of these set at a different frequency, aimed at the sky in a certain area to do whatever needs to be done. Because we live in a frequency-based area. Everything can be replicated with lasers. You would never be able to see. You would never be able to distinguish fiction, from nonfiction. Here's Chronicon right here. It's black, so you can see it better there. But you can replicate everything, and it doesn't mile if it's miles away. It still maintains in the integrity. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I don't like using it without a filter, like I showed you initially, because it really does burn you. Can't even leave it on your skin very long. This is without a filter, but it's a blue laser. There's no doubt about it. It's a blue laser.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
This technology absolutely exists.
And it's existed for a long time, a lot longer than we can even imagine. I mean, I say the 60s, but they, to be working on it for $6 billion, they've had to been working on it way before the 60s. The weather modification, the Weather Modification Act, I think, did you show that one already? If you go to standtogether.com, you can scroll down to weather modification, and there is the act of 1976. I think it is 1976. Let me take a look at, Act of 1976. Yes, Weather Modification Act. It's underneath the direct energy weapons. And there's also, I want to show you this one thing as well. So there's a Weather Modification Act of 1976 on the standtogetherhawaii.com site. There's also a company that modifies the weather. And you can actually find them at also the Library of NOAA, NOAA.gov actually has some information on the rules for weather modification. So weather modification, people are able to do it, but they actually have to tell the government when they're doing it, how long they're doing it for, except if they work for the federal government or are an agency of the federal government. They do not have to share when they're going to be using weather modification. They only have to share it if they're a company or a person who's going to be using weather modification, and they don't work for the federal government. But if they do work for the federal government, they don't have to disclose when they're using this information or using that technology. So, So go ahead.
No, I had something pass my mind when you were showing me that picture of that victim in Hawaii. So the way the body looks is perfectly identical to the bodies we see in museums today that our authorities tell us are the victims of Mount Etna, or the victims of Vesuvius, volcano victims. But what if ancient cities like Mohenjo-Daro, where the bodies looked just like that when archaeologists found them? What if, like, the lamentation texts of ancient Sumer and Akkad are telling us the truth, and that a weapon in the sky is literally melting people in cities, and it's just, every bit of this fits in with what has been shown in Archaix in the historical record. These eradications, and they're highly localized. It's never a whole region. It's never a whole hemisphere. It's never a whole country or continent, but they're highly localized. And yet, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, they're painted as something else, like a volcanic eruption
Mhm.
with the lamentation text, they didn't try to paint it as anything other than a weapon in the sky wielded by the gods, liquefied 27 cities using heat. So I don't know. It's in the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata even explains that something in the sky could literally melt entire armies. So we have a reference in the Old Testament. In the Old Testament, in the book of Hezekiah, in the book of Isaiah, in the reign of Hezekiah, we find that in 713 BC, 185,000 Assyrian soldiers under Sennacherib of Nineveh were leaving Egypt, passing Jerusalem, when a thunderbolt from the sky vaporized all 185,000 of them, just totally incinerated it, vaporized them. So it sounds like frequency weapons have been here from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And what I love about your work and what you're sharing is because it is ancient stuff. I mean, even what I've been learning right now inside the court system, it's all ancient from the law merchant, and that goes back to Jesus' time. So we are actually in a system that's thousands of years old that we don't really understand. I just sent you a picture of the. This was a screenshot because this picture was removed. This was after the fire. This was from the Hawaii State Department of Education, because a lot of times people go, what about the children? So what people need to understand is that in Maui, in Lahaina, there was 3,000 children that were enrolled in Lahaina Luna School District. And then after the fire, they did these numbers, and then this was removed. So a friend of mine screenshot this image from the Hawaii State Education Department to show what happened to these kids. They literally shows on August 8th the enrollment was 3,001. And I'll just wait for you to, if you can get it up. If
I'm
not,
trying to open it.
that's okay. I
It's
can
I will,
I
what
can
kind of
tell what
document
it
is
is.
it? What kind
It's
of
just a
document?
PDF. It's just a JPEG or a PDF.
Okay,
Oh, no, it's a
okay,
JPEG.
yeah,
It's a JPEG.
okay. I'm about to share my screen. It just opened.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So a
Let's
lot of
see.
people are
Okay.
asking about the children, and some people say there were these buses. I don't know anything about that, and I won't share anything that I absolutely cannot show the where I got it from. If I can't show it, then I'm not going to, or source it, I'm not going to share it. But this was a screenshot from the Hawaii Department of Education. 3,001 children were enrolled. After the fire, 538 re-enrolled, and 438 enrolled in a private school. But there's 2,025 children that didn't re-enroll in Lahaina Luna School District or private schools. So that was this was done a little over 2 weeks after the fire. So did these children did 2,000 children, over 2,000 children and their families move off island, or did they enroll in a different school, like 2,000? So a friend of mine said that one of her friends was a school teacher, and she said she got a new roster that had less children on it than normal, and she was told by FEMA, do not contact the families of the children that are no longer on the roster, because you will further traumatize them. You'll further traumatize them.
But
So a
the
school.
actual truth is probably those families are gone too.
Absolutely. Yep. Ellie Cochran, again, state representative, she said that she knows a house that was 2 blocks away from her current home, that didn't burn, luckily. And it had 10 people. 10 people that died in one house. There's a whole road that had 43 people that died on one public road. There have been boat captains and other rescuers that had to sign a non-disclosure. Why do
Mm-hmm.
people have to sign a non-disclosure if you're going to
Yep.
rescue somebody? So these boat captains, one of them said he's rescued over 180 bodies out of the water, and another one was over 200. Another firefighter said he rescued 80. So what's the deal with the 102 that were killed. There's just no way. In fact,
Yeah.
one of the people who were going in on the front lines, he was going in and he was asked, where are you finding the bodies? And he literally said, everywhere there's a bed. He said, everywhere there's a bed, because this happened in the evening. The second fire happened in the evening, and the best warning system in the entire world was not turned on. So it was not turned on. In fact, the manager who was in charge of the Maui Emergency Management Center, the head director, had zero management experience. His name was Herman Ananda, a zero management experience, and he also beat out 40 other applicants with zero actual emergency management experience. And he said the reason he didn't put on the... Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we already know everybody in a political position has signed the contract, or they would not be there.
Yeah,
Michelle, I get it that you're an activist. I get it that you're fighting. I get it 100%. I am jaded. I am 100% convinced the entire world is a captured operation, and everything going on around us is because the people that we call our rulers are absolutely just puppets of unseen figures in operation centers in the underworld. This is absolutely my belief, and that means that they can do whatever the hell they want to do with the surface world, and they've got 15 and a half more years to do it.
I totally agree that this is a simulation, 100%. And I know that there's some type of evilness here, especially when the fact that if we even go into the satanic issues with the children and the absolute hundreds of thousands that go missing every single year and are not accounted for. So absolutely. My thing with what I feel like each one of us is I know that there's an oversoul of some sort. And I feel like for myself, I'm like, there was a pull. Like, I did this book in 4 months, and I literally was up till midnight, and then I would wake up at 3 o'clock, and I knew exactly which chapter was next. Now write about this. And it was like, there was something that was control. I was like, I can't even describe, but that's what I think that for my life is that I'm being pulled to do what we call here in Hawaii kuleana, my responsibility, what's mine to do, because I know that this is a prison planet of some sort, prison, and it is a simulation, because even in the Bible, I've been reading the Bible, it goes, he was in the earth, not on the earth. When you go in something, you're in a house, you're in your bedroom, in the earth. This is some type of simulation. That's totally right.
When I made my comment, I am in no way trying to steer you from your course, because it's also my message that we're not here to save the world, but we are here to save our world. We can change our world, and that means your world is not Texas. Your world is Maui and everybody out in the field who's going to listen to your message. That's your world. And yeah, absolutely carry that torch, move forward and do all that. But understand that you're an immortal soul moving through a construct that's going to continue to be evil after you have made your move to a whole nother reality. It will still be here with this terrible dungeon programming that all these souls that are trying to mature are going to have to go through.
And that's the other thing. I love that you said that, to have to mature, because it's like, for me, when I'm being pulled to do something, if I don't do what I'm being pulled to do, I feel I can't even describe. I cannot not do what I'm being pulled to do. And so many people have an intuition that they do not follow. And I feel like that intuition is helping me to wake up and to get the heck out of this place, because when I understand that and I become the observer and I watch things as if it's a game, as if it's a simulation, I find so much more peace inside my body than thinking that, okay, we're screwed about this, because I do feel like there is an out, but I feel it comes through intuition. It comes through this infinite intelligence that has created us, has beating our hearts and breathing our bodies. But this is some type of game that we have to follow. This is my view, is that I have to follow it and keep trusting and become the observer of this game versus like again I love how you said you can't change the world. These guys are absolutely in on it. The Hawaii governor, the first words out of his mouth after this fire were, I'm looking for ways for the state to acquire the land for workforce housing. That is a demon right there saying
Yeah,
that to people who just lost everything and people who had their families murdered. And he says, I'm looking for ways for the state to acquire, I'm looking for ways for the state to get your land now after you've lost everything for workforce housing. So it's like, that's that and him going to the United Nations and spewing absolute lies, and I do think
yeah,
that this, because there's so many experts, there's over 2,000, close to 2,000 experts, credentialed scientists that say there's no climate danger. Is there climate change? Happens every single moment of the day, but
yeah.
danger, no. And so the way awakening up and following my intuition and becoming the observer of this world and knowing that somehow that is the way out, because when I out of here not coming back, because it is some type of reincarnation cycle of some sort.
I agree.
And
Well, I want to interject with something. So, in at part of my history is as a contractor. One thing that is very obvious to me is that the most beautiful homes are always in earth tones, and in some way they replicate the colors of their environment. And it's just baseline aesthetics. But in Hawaii, how is it that certain individuals already had blue architecture and blue roofs prior to this happening? I mean,
mhm,
we already know. I mean, it's common knowledge. Oprah's mansion, the entire top was all blue, probably one of
yep.
the ugliest colors for the Hawaiian countryside. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
No, yeah. Oh,
Who else had
absolutely.
blue roofs?
Absolutely. Well, it's so funny that you said that because a lot of the people in Chile started painting their houses blue after
Yes, they
their
did.
fire. Yeah, but Oprah was definitely one of them. And there's again, like I said, a lot of billionaires here that are taking up the land, including here on Big Island. There's one guy scooping up the land here in Waimea, which is the middle of the Big Island. But she definitely had some type of heads up, I believe, because she also did some she had people there, I believe before the fire, that were FEMA related, that were doing some type of protection around her house. And so yeah, that's very, very true around that. And when people look at the fact that Hawaii's, the other thing I want to share, since you have such a great following, is Hawaii's not actually a state. It was actually the first land grab was back when the queen was overthrown, and she abdicated the throne under duress, and she actually put the country into martial law. And the Hawaii kingdom is actually seen by before the overthrow by many countries, that it was a nation, a sovereign nation. And it was overthrown, but it never was fully annexed as a state. And people don't realize that it's under military law, U.S. military law. And so that's why, another reason why Hawaii is literally run by the mafia, in my opinion, because our elections there's no way we have fair elections. And I did a whole video presentation on that, on how many holes are in the election system in Hawaii, and we're trying to get the main election official out, get him booted, because he overreached and did so many things that were illegal in the last election. But it's really hard, when COVID was happening. I actually took the police chief to made a complaint against him with the police commissioner, because he had sent a letter to a friend of mine stating they were going into stores telling store owners that people could shop without a mask on if they were medically exempt, and they don't have to show proof of medical exemption because that is a violation of your privacy. That wasn't happening, so we took him to the police commissioner with the letter that he wrote saying he was doing this, but he wasn't doing this because I basically went in with 3 other people. Cops came, and we didn't get arrested, but they about 20 minutes later, we all dispersed, and then we took them to the police commission. 2 weeks later after that, I get a letter saying there was not enough evidence, but 2 months later, the Hawaii Big Island police chief retires. So I feel like you're right when you said you can change your world, but it's going to take some effort. I think people need to step up and do what we're called to do, because either we're going to have a world in enslavement, or it's hard. It's not easy to stand up, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I do think that that's how we're going to change our world. There are going to be 2 different worlds, and one is a total enslavement where people comply and, they're chipped and all kinds of stuff. And then the other one where we're living on the land, off of the land, where I just planted some more vegetables yesterday, and we're standing up for what is right, and we keep doing that. And it's not easy. We do get pushback. When this first started happening, I got people telling me I was killing people's grandmother. But I kept going. I'm a fitness trainer. My background is fitness and wellness for 30 years. My first book was a bestseller and a award winner. It's End Dieting Hell. And so I was a fitness person. So when the COV thing started happening, I was like, masks help about as much as a chain link fence against a mosquito. And hand sanitizer is literally poison for your gut and your microbiome. So I was like,
Right.
what is going on? Yeah.
Listen, I've had a really rude awakening in the last month. I had some people sit me down, and I'm a stickler for the details, because you can't just tell me something and I'm not going to ask in questions and expect intelligent responses. And that's exactly what I got. I knew these individuals knew what they were talking about, and I knew it wasn't book knowledge. I knew it was by experience, and I learned about. I'm 51 years old, and I actually learned about how my body processes different types of foods, what it does with them, what it can do, what it can't do, what fat is, where it goes, why we have a daily stool under certain diets, but other diets will only stool maybe twice a week. And I was explained all these things, and when I found out what the value animals bring with 4 stomachs and different type of digestive enzymes, and what they do to plants to prepare them for the minerals for consumption and all, and vitamins, and the difference. I started the carnivore diet, and that was over like 8 days ago. And I'm going to tell you now, my mental acuity, it's off the chart. I'm multitasking every day. I'm doing more on a daily basis than I've done before. And now, I'm not talking about just videos and all that. I'm all over the place. I am getting things done. I'm moving. I'm helping people out. I'm moving merchant. I'm just doing everything. And every single day, I have no loss of energy. I'm sleeping about 5, maybe 6 hours a night, but it's a very deep sleep. I don't have that lethargy. I've had 0 acid reflux, 0 indigestion, just no hiccups, no burping, none of that. And a carnivore diet isn't 100% just eating meat. It's if I'm eating a steak and my body is like, man, I really like about 3 or 4 green olives with that, I'm going to eat those green olives, but I'm not going to eat a bowl full. I'm going to eat 3 or 4. The other day I was eating a smoked sausage, and I was like, man, about 6 or 7 slices of pickle sure would. I'm talking about thin slices. I ate them, no conviction, no guilt. That's all. It's so minuscule, it doesn't change anything. The main thing is I'm not eating anything else, and my body is doing just fine. It's absolutely using that meat and everywhere it needs to be. And I know I've got some vegan and vegetarian listeners that are rolling over like, oh, Jason, you the devil now. I get it. But I know this. Every vegan and vegetarian that I have ever spent a lot of time around has more health issues than anybody I've ever seen. I can name some now in social media that you all know the names of on YouTube that promote veganism and vegetarianism, and they're sickly. They do not look healthy. They don't even behave healthy. So I don't know. I'm going on a tangent, but I'm just telling you that yeah, when it comes to health and wellness, I'm a pretty educated guy, but I'm educated in the avenues that I've pursued, my interests. But when it came to diet, it literally took two people to sit me down and say, "Hey, man, we need to have a serious conversation with you, man. You need to hear this." And they were looking out for me, and they did it. And one conversation woke me up. So I started digging, and I started looking things up, and I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe that the food pyramid was specifically designed to kill me." And
yes, you are correct.
You're absolutely correct. Couldn't believe it. I used to read the food pyramid on the back of milk cartons all the time. I used to look at that stuff. Yeah. Can't even believe that in itself, one type. I'm not going to get specific, but in itself, one type of food, it might be bad and some good, but combined with a second and third type of food, what my body does is literally create a poison that's killing me. Yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with that lifestyle, and I feel great.
That's exactly right, because everything we've been told is an absolute lie, and each person has to decide for themselves what feels good and what doesn't. Because believe it or not, I'm actually mostly well, I do eat fish and I do eat some eggs from the farm, but other than that, I eat a lot of quinoa, which is my protein, and a lot of veggies. No dairy. But if you're watching this and you want to know what's a really good sign around your health is how many times are you, which Jason mentioned, how many times are you eliminating a day? We should be eliminating between 2 to 4 times a day, and some people do 1, and some people skip a day. And if you're skipping a day with elimination, that means you're holding on to stuff, and I know we just went on a totally different topic, but that's my expertise is 30 years as a fitness and wellness expert, and people need to find a balance of what makes them feel good in their bodies, and making sure it starts with your gut. Because 70% of your immune system lives in your gut, 70%. And if your gut is not healthy, you will not be healthy. But I do want to honor the people in Maui and Lahaina, because that it's not over. It's not over for them. I went there. Oh, and this is the other thing, Jason, I wanted to tell you is Lahaina is still locked down after a year. So after the fire, people were not able to go in. There was the same thing in Asheville and in Maui that happened was no fly zone. So for 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks in Maui, there was no fly zone. You could not fly drones over Lahaina. Nobody could go in. Homeowners were not allowed in for 3 months. Homeowners were not allowed in. There was a $2.4 million dust screen that was 12 feet high, 5 miles long, that went around Lahaina. I asked a friend of mine who's a firefighter for 30 years, and I said, is that normal? He said, no. He's like, the only reason they would put a dust screen 5 miles long is because they're trying to hide something. Then there were these SUV cars that were nobody could stop. You could not stop at the Lahaina burn zone. You could not take pictures. You were threatened with arrest if you did. James, what is his name? James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe was actually got arrested, and he actually sued, and then I believe he's still in the process of suing them because he got arrested for coming and taking pictures. But what happened in Asheville? Now the helicopter guy was threatened with arrest if he went to try to rescue people. So
this blows my mind about Asheville. I did 2 meetups there. I've been there back to back in Asheville, and it's all mountainous. It's high elevation in the Appalachian Mountains. Your ears pop driving up to Asheville.
So 2,000, at least 2,000 elevation.
Well, I have friends that are a lot higher than that, because right outside of Asheville is real high mountains, and they live on the side of the mountain. But it's really crazy that elevation would be flooded out that bad. And I want to run something by you, so we can record it in this video and people can come back to it. one is the past and one is the future. In the past, I did a video and people thought I was crazy, but I did a predictions video for Australia. And I told Australia when they were having the driest season ever, I even showed them on the charts. It was like in the last 80, 90 years, it was the dry spell of all time. This is 2021 or 2022. And I told the Australians on my channel that here in the next few weeks, you guys are going to get nailed. It's going to be the wettest. You're going to have floods, wettest season. They thought I was crazy. It happened just like that. It's in my Australia predictions video. Many Aussies and many Kiwis have contacted me after that and say, damn, Jason, that was crazy. These floods, you nailed it. But I'm going to tell you now, I'm making another prediction. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to make it against my own state of Texas. I've been here all my life. I've never lived anywhere but Texas. And I have never seen 14 or 15 days of absolute blue sky back to back, not a drop of rain. And it's almost as if we're being prepped for some massive flooding. And the reason I say this is because any topsoil that is somewhat moist from rains like a week ago or so, it's the best to absorb water and stop massive flooding. But when you have 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of topsoil and dirt that's dried out, when you have torrential rain, it doesn't absorb water. Water glides over it, and it takes days for the ground to start absorbing water. Ground absorption is the reason a lot after torrential rain, a lot of areas don't flood. Your creeks, your bayous, your sewer systems, they take care of everything. But not in Texas. It's been weird. We've had nothing, not a drop in like maybe 14 days, 15 days, I don't know. But we've almost had blue sky the entire time right here in Central East Texas from Willis to Houston. So I'm thinking that if we get a hard rain anytime soon, we're going to be in trouble because the ground is not ready to accept that right now. Soft rains are good. We can absorb that. But a real hard torrential rain like Asheville got, we're going to have the same thing here.
Yeah, I've always tell my clients, I say, have a to-go bag. Have some type of to-go bag in your car where you have food and water, extra clothes, extra shoes, just to be safe, just to, just so if you need to go, you can go. And some type of plan with your family, because a friend of mine or a client of mine, her niece is still in North Carolina in Asheville, and she's trying to get out. So we know she's alive, so that's good. But there should every family right now should have some type of plan and a to-go bag in their car ready. I have mine, toilet paper, toiletries, stuff like that, stuff to go, because you just never know when it's going to happen. And then follow your guided intuition. There is like, I think you've said, like, don't a relationship with the oversoul. Like that's when I go, this is the backyard I have, and there's no lights, and out at nighttime there's complete stars, and I walk through in the dark and just talk to this infinite creator around and say, I just want to know the truth. That was one of the first things I've always said, is just show me the truth of what's going on. I've been following you for years. I've loved your content. I think I remember when you did that prediction about Australia. And then the other thing, and also, is what's mine to do? What am I here to do? And then I just let the rest go. And I just say, okay, universe, this is mine to do. And then, the other thing too is I focus on the things that I want. I pray a lot. There's a prayer at the end of every single chapter in this book. And I don't pray in the same way, like in the name of Jesus. I don't, a lot of times some people have stopped following me because I don't believe a lot of stuff, some of the things that the Bible talks about in the way that they talk about it. Because I think the Bible is some type of code and some type of contract with, I don't even know, an evilness, but it's some type of a contract of some sort is what I believe it to be. What? You're going to share something? Did you want to share something about that? Oh, that's the thing. I have a question for you. I have a question for you around that.
You already know my opinion. It's a book of good and evil, and it's layered, just like holography. It's layered in meanings, and you can derive new meanings when you add new context. There are all kinds of the Bible it's a supernatural book. It's amazing what you can find in it, but it's not just good. There's spiritual food in that material, but it's also the words and deeds of a demon. It's like artificial intelligence X, and I think my Rottweiler's agreeing with me because he's going off right now.
I agree, because I was looking at it and I'm like, God tells Abraham, go, kill your firstborn child. I said, a loving God would never do that. That's a demon. If you're in love with somebody, you're not going to say, kill something to prove you love me. Kill something to prove, how much I'm important to you.
I can give you one example, Michelle, because I can give you probably 80 or 90, but one example that epitomizes what I'm talking about is all throughout the Bible, there are two versions. All throughout the Old Testament, there's two versions of almost every single story. Even in Genesis, there's two versions of the creation. In Genesis, there's two different versions of the Great Flood. When you go through the narrative, all throughout the Old Testament, you have the version of the Israelites through the Aaronic prophets, and you have the version of the Yahwists, which became the Hebrews and Jews. Two different versions. All the thread of double stories goes through the entire Old Testament. And in those, and they provide you multiple perspectives. You have to pay attention, such as the story in Second Chronicles of King David is told twice from two different perspectives. King David was punished by God, whoever God is, by God, because he was supposed to go to war in faith. And he was not supposed to rely on the numbers of Israel. He was not supposed to do a census and count how many he could put in the field. He was supposed to rely on faith, but he rebelled. He did a census, and he got punished. And his punishment, he had like three choices. He could choose between three choices, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is when this is being conveyed in Second Chronicles and when it's being conveyed in like First Kings or Second Kings, the same exact story from two different perspectives. One said, the summary of one story is that David suffered this punishment because he was led by Yahweh to revolt. David's heart was pushed by Yahweh to do that sin so he could suffer that consequence. But the exact same story said in a different book of the Bible says, and that David's heart was hardened so that he would sin, and this thing came from Satan. So when you compare the dual narratives, you were just told in the Old Testament that the figure of Yahweh that first appeared out of the burning bush and not from a tree of life, the figure of Yahweh is the same as Satan, the adversary. So I have many of these. That's just the main one that identifies who the other half of the Bible is written by.
So I have two questions for you around that. First, because I feel like there are some times that I feel there is this thing that guides all of us. Are we being guided by this oversoul just to do our kuleana, to do our I call it a game. This life is a game. I came here to do whatever my higher self said. You're going to go into this place. You're going to play this game, and you're going to be guided. And what are you going to do? Are you going to follow the guidance or not? So are we being guided by a higher power? And then I have another question for you.
Okay. I believe anytime you follow your heart, which is also moored to source, then it's going to be honored. What you do for others, you actually do for the oversoul. There's no doubt. What we do for each other. Are you influenced sometimes by negative default programming or dungeon programming? All the time. You don't even recognize that behavior because it's so ingrained. I do it all the time as well. Thinking I'm doing somebody's service, I actually help them so much to where it becomes, I'm really just, okay, I just spent 2 years enabling. I didn't help this person at all. They're just the same person that they were before. I had that shit happen to me in prison many times where I'd try to school somebody to educate them, and it doesn't really matter. After a while, you realize the architecture of someone's personality is absolutely fixed, and it doesn't matter what information you bring to the table. They're still going to stay on that trajectory. It's not going to change them. So there has to come a time where you have to break pattern, and in that breaking of pattern, it means a severance from that soul. Let them go, let them go. And I used to educate a lot of guys in prison, and that's when I would find out who was really connected to source and who was just enmeshed in the programming of the world, and they were only listening to me in prison because I was interesting or I brought something different to the table they hadn't heard before. So I'm gonna answer your question with intuition is your guide, and when you follow it, you're obeying source, you're obeying the oversoul. When you're doing things out of a personal curiosity, there's nothing wrong with that, because you do have some modicum of autonomy. You were put here to grow, mature, survive this BS, move on through it, and then look back at the ridiculousness of it all, because you're an immortal being, and this was a very believable experience to you. And it's really hard to convey that to you from the inside of a construct that we've been brainwashed to believe is real, when it's not. This is a perceived experience, not an actual experience. My dog just seconded that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Because I walk around and there's birds all over the place, and they don't know what the heck is going on. They didn't know when people were wearing masks. I just look at nature and these trees. They're still, every single day they grow an inch more. Nature doesn't know what's happening, and people think that the whole carbon, the climate change, and the whole carbon. I mean, people don't understand. We need carbon dioxide because the plants live on it. And it's like the whole carbon footprint is so ridiculous that if anybody absolutely believes that, they just need to take Science 101 and realize that if we don't have any more carbon dioxide, we don't have no more plants, and we will die. And Greg Braden was talking about that we actually need the carbon dioxide as it's 180 parts per million, and they want to bring it down to, I think it's 220 parts per million, which is getting really close to our limit. And so they also want to I think later on, fine you for your breathing of yourself and your animals. So yes, and so what you said around following your intuition, that's what I've done all my life. In fact, I remember I had a business once called Women Being Fit, and I kept going, what's next for Women Being Fit? I'd go, okay, universe, tell me what's next. And all of a sudden, 4:30 in the morning, everything always happened at 4:30 in the morning. I wake up and I know that, I'm supposed to do a health summit. And I did this health summit for a year, launched that business, and but it was always following my guided intuition. And when I get stuck, because there's been times that I've been really frustrated with the way the world has been, and there was a family member who was very close to me who didn't speak to me for 3 years, and what I did was I had a picture of us. And I just remembered all the fun times. I remembered all the fun times we had. And then she ends up calling me a few months ago, and we reconnected again, and now we're closer than ever. And it's like following. I love that you said following that intuition, that guided intuition. So my other question for you, which was around the Bible, Lot. This really frustrated me, and I stopped reading the Bible because I got so angry, because I was like, this is not the God of love. There's no way. So Lot is there, and he's with his 2 daughters inside, and they've never been with man, and the guys knock on the door and they're going to harm him, and he goes, take my daughters, they've never been with man. And I'm like, what? And then the daughters, Sodom and Gomorrah, like there's no more town, and the daughters go, oh, let's get our father drunk because there's no men and we want to have children. And they get the father drunk to lay with the daughters. I'm like, this is not the God of love. This is something else. And I had this hour conversation with this pastor friend of mine, and I was like, I'm sorry, you cannot get me to believe that this is the God of love, because there's just no way. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I can give you many examples. I mean, Moses came down the mountain with a declaration that the Israelites would have to stop honoring the golden calf. The golden calf was merely a symbol for the goddess Neith, so Hathor. Well, they refused to do so. So Yahweh ordered Moses to get some people behind him and go put those that rebelled, to take the leaders and impale them on stakes. You're familiar with the history of Vlad Dracul and how agonizing it is to die by impalement. Humans don't die fast. They literally
Mhm.
stake up in the air and gravity pulls you down the stake, and it's excruciating pain, and it's a long time, and they actually dehydrate. But the
Mhm.
human body can still live for a long time in extreme pain, suspended in the air, can't go anywhere. You're stuck on a stick. So it's yeah, it's almost unbelievable what people have gone through being impaled. But in the Bible, Moses had him impaled. Then he had some burned alive. Then the Israelites rebelled because they didn't want to go into the cities of Canaan and kill every man, woman, and child. But their leaders were swallowed up in Korah's rebellion in the earth. So this is not a loving God that deals with dissent by murder. Just has them all killed. If you dissent, just kill them all. And let's get some new leaders in here. Oh, you're going to obey? Cool. Go ahead and kill these men, women, and children in these cities. So yeah,
That's
the
what they
the
just
Old
did.
Testament the Old Testament is racial conditioning. It's literally written and designed so that you will defend a certain people to the T. And any time that they want to do a genocidal act in a certain area of the world, it's justified because they shouldn't have that land. According to our holy books way back here, we were given this land. It's our land. God said it's our land, and God said that we are his children. Therefore, they need to die. And this is exactly what we find in the days of the Moses narrative. It's precisely what we find 1946, 47, and 48 and 49. It's precisely what we found earlier in 2023 when all these people were genocided. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's yeah, the Bible is a book that justifies this. Yeah, of course it's a book of good and evil. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
And what
I
you
do want to. You kind of went real far asking the second question before I could interject, but you mentioned the carbon print. Okay,
carbon footprint.
our
Yeah.
controllers are not dumb. Our
No,
controllers aren't stupid. They
they're
know.
counting on us being dumb.
Yeah, well, they know that everything they're telling us is a lie, and they
Mhm.
know that all the carbon emissions are not going to increase bad weather. And these things are thrown out there as justifications for technologies they're using against us. But also, it's a setup because the more that these controllers can get individual governments online with doing away with petro technologies and using more and more electric cars and electric infrastructure, electric gadgets, electric locomotion, the more they can get us transferred over to wind turbine technologies, it's all a setup because in 15 and a half years, once the Phoenix appears and we get a new biosphere and the vapor canopy forms rapidly, those solar panels aren't worth shit. Wind turbines will cease. There's almost no breeze in a vapor canopy. So
Yeah.
we're looking at a totally different world. It's a total setup. So not only does the Phoenix phenomenon neutralize so many different areas of the world, but if all the technologies have been switched over to that, here's a real good way to kill off a mass amount of the population. So when they come back up underground, which they've done multiple times in the past, it's a population that's struggling with no technology, just like 3439 BC when the Sumerians entered in the Anuna record. When the Anuna appeared, this is exactly what had happened. A technologically
Yeah.
advanced civilization was ceased to exist, volcanic resurfacing, massive floods, about a 60-year period of total destruction, world depopulation, and then about 100 years later, these strangers appear and everybody thinks they're gods because they have
Yeah.
technology. This story has happened many, many times.
Well, it's funny you said that because in the book, what happens is it starts with the Great Maui Land Grab. It starts with the fire, and then it goes into why what's happening with legislation, and then it goes into the truth about the carbon and the climate change. Because what's happening with people don't understand, like electrical vehicles, which is what's happening in Asheville, because the lithium, the lithium mines that are in Kings Mountain, they
Mhm.
all of that lithium is for these electronic vehicles, and they want to actually produce, I think it's 1.2 million of these electric vehicles per year. But what people people don't understand, and this was actually given to me by a naturopathic doctor. She said the electric vehicle, actually, when people are sitting in an electric vehicle, the batteries are underneath and they're actually pulling calcium out of your cells. So they're actually not
Wow.
good for the human body. This is like the EMF. So we have our phones, that do the thing, and we have to have certain things that protect us from the EMFs. But this is a huge car with this battery underneath it that you're sitting on top of. And the other thing that I want to share around electric vehicles, they're actually more fire. They burn. Chief firefighter said that a regular gas car, you can douse it in 5 minutes with about 500 to 750 gallons of water. Electric
Yep.
car takes about 2 hours to put out 22,000 gallons of water. And we live on islands, so the electric cars have to come over on a boat. And there have been boats that the captain has said the electric car batteries caught on fire and we couldn't get it out. So the ship sunk. So that's
Golly.
what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. And people don't understand that these electric, the smart or the renewable energies, not only more expensive, but more dangerous, way more dangerous. And they're not talking about that. They're not wanting you to know. John Coleman, who was the first weatherman on Good Morning America, he was the founder of the Weather Channel, and he's talked to been on numerous shows talking about how there is no climate danger, and that these renewable energies are not what they say that they are, that they will actually hinder us moving forward, and they're more dangerous. So I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but that's crazy. And so what you're saying is right on target.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. The whole, yeah. I mean, it goes deeper than that. They're even, like, I'll give you an example. I got a Jeep. I got a Jeep Rubicon from 2011, old style, like I like. And can't even drive it. Computer went out. So I've been waiting. I ordered a computer on the 2nd of last month. And this is another way they're phasing out a lot of the older, more reliable vehicles. It's they're telling me they don't even have the parts for the new computer. So I'm about to get my money back on that. And now I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the Jeep Rubicon 2011 that I can't find a computer for. I mean, I'll probably
And
find one from a used store, but I was trying to get a brand new computer for it and get it programmed. But this is what I'm hearing from a lot of people, and even dealerships don't want to deal with any older models of cars because they're making the parts almost impossible to find.
yes, the other thing I want to say about computers is that there is a very high purity quartz in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's a mine, and it's the only no, I'm sorry, it's not Asheville. It is Sugar Pine. Sugar Pine, which is near Asheville, but in North Carolina, that was affected by the flood, and they're not open. They were also affected by the floods. So this is the only place in the world where this high quality quartz is found for all computers, all cell phones, medical equipment, planes, anything that has a computer chip. So when that goes down, and if that doesn't get up, that's going to be probably one of the first cities that they help in recovery efforts. But how many months is it going to take for that? And those computer chips need that high quality quartz to function. So what's coming is, be prepared, you guys, with stock up on food and water, because your computers, if they go down, like Jason was saying with his car, I have one car that's high end and has a computer, and the other car is this 2005 that I love, and it doesn't have the automatic it does have the automatic door locks, but I can also manually open it, which I really love. So that's another thing. It's like, do you have other transportation versus these brand new computer programmed automobiles that if those computers go out, what are you going to do? So that's kind of what we're looking at. So that's another thing that's happening with the floods that happened with the floods over there in North Carolina. And it is absolutely a land grab there over there as well, because they're actually already contacting people to sell their property, just like they did in Lahaina right after the fire. disgusting people, whomever they were calling and wanting to purchase their land. And that's exactly what they're doing in North Carolina as well. They're contacting them and asking them to purchase their property, which they did also before, and they didn't sell, but now it's worth nothing. So it's really, really sad what they're doing. And yeah, this is a game, and it can be really hard, but it's like trusting your own higher self, getting into nature as often as possible. Like I said, I love walking at nighttime. I just look at the stars and I just talk to the infinite creator, and I say, just tell me the truth and show me what's mine to do, what's mine to do. And then sometimes I cry because this is, they're murdering children, and they're murdering our aunties, uncles, moms, and dads, and they don't even care. So there's also the aspect of just being a human being with a heart, and that's what they count on. That's why the COV thing got so far, because we actually love each other, in my view, especially in Hawaii. We love and we want to care about each other, but it's also like, when's it time to stand up? There's a company called inpowermovement.com, inpowermovement.com, and it's with Cal Washington, and he has an amazing story with going through the court systems for 15 years, and them really, being arrested for 2 months. And he finally figured out the law merchant, and how the court systems are using this ancient law called the law merchant, and we actually can use it as well. We just have to learn how. And basically what it is that everything is contracts. All of these government agencies are corporatized, and they are all running on contracts. And when we go in without fighting, where we get in dishonor when we fight, when we go in and we actually do a counter offer to their contract, that's our power. That's the power of the people, but we don't understand it. The first thing the judge says, and you probably know this better than me, is the first thing he says is, "What's your argument?" But we go in there, we don't argue. We say, "Yeah, I agree to that, and here's my counter offer." That's going to make a different court system. That's going to make a different scene for them. And that's where our power is. So inpowermovement.com is another place that we, as living men and living women and souls, can actually take back our power and help to change our world. Because you're right, this whole thing is all over the world, and we can only really choose. Our power is with our local area, our local community. And so if you're watching this, check your local plan, your planning department, and see what's coming your way. Because in our general plan in Big Island, they actually have reduce vehicle transportation. They want to reduce our ability to travel. And I've said that I've told them that that's against the Constitution. You cannot restrict travel. We have a right to travel. So, there's a lot of other things like that in this general plan that we're speaking up about. So I agree with you, Jason, that our power is locally. And yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you in on something. You do know that, first of all, multiple times in the last 4.5 years of my channel, I have explained that we live in a contract-based reality. And I wasn't referring to the maritime law. I wasn't referring to the sovereignty movement deal. I'm referring to how the construct deals with us. It lays terms out there all the time that we can either accept or deny or refuse. And this counter offer phenomenon, I just did it. I'm going to do a video in the near future explaining to my community everything that happened. But you guys know that I was basically attacked by YouTubers who had sick law enforcement on for all kinds of stupid BS. Even the U.S. Marshals took it seriously and arrested me. So this was all very recent, last few months.
I remember that. I remember you got arrested.
Yes. Well, okay. Well, I went to court and they heard me out. I laid it all out there. It says this is the inception of the problem. These are the people. Here are the identities of the people that are involved. This is what they told law enforcement. This is what they bragged about online. Here's what they told the general public. I said this is what it really has to do with was Archaix has been attacked by competitors and whatever it was, jealousy or whatever, and they use law enforcement to do it. So they're essentially weaponizing the bench. They're weaponizing the court against me, and the court listened to me. Yeah, I had them spellbound. I'm talking about I was able to go in with the prosecutor, got it set up where I could go in there and talk to. Man, it was amazing, and they gave me an offer. I was hit with a 9-count indictment, and in one conversation, I eliminated 7 of those accounts. And 2 counts left were so petty and minor that I was offered 2 years probation. And I did exactly what you just said. They offered me 2 years probation, said, okay, you know what, none of this is really serious. We get it. You did kind of default on 2 things you were obligated to do, and you didn't do it. So you know what? This doesn't merit you going to prison or nothing like that. And I told the court no. And I offered something else.
I love it.
This is exactly. I'm going to do a whole video and tell everybody soon because I got exactly what I want, and I'm going to tell you. Everybody's going to know real soon. But I did exactly what you said. I was offered 2 years probation, and I told them no. And then I gave them all the reasons why 2 years probation is unacceptable for what happened. And they asked me what would be acceptable, and I told them, and we entered an agreement. So anyway, I just want to let you know, 100%, this is absolutely a contract-based reality. There's no doubt.
Yes.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's our power. And see, what people think is they think they need to argue and they need to fight. But no, when you do that, you go into dishonor and now you don't have power. But if you stay calm, and just like when the cops came when I wasn't wearing a mask, I stayed calm. Actually, what happened was I was super excited to see them because I had the letter from the police chief saying that they were going into shops and telling store owners people can shop without a mask as long as they're medically exempt. So the cops came and I was literally excited to see them. And I said, here's a letter from your boss saying you guys are going in, you guys can go into the store owner and tell them that we can shop without a mask because we're medically exempt. And they said, no, this piece of paper, no, this we don't. And I said, no, that's a letter from your boss. And so we actually debated back and forth. And it was funny because at one point they had the security guard of the shopping center come up,
Yeah.
and the cop says, "Do you want them here?" And the guy goes, "No." And I said, "How do you know he's not my boyfriend and he's just jealous and just wants me out of here?" And they all just stared at me, and anyway, long story short, we ended up leaving, but we all stayed calm and we weren't fighting. We were just it was like a conversation and going back and forth. But regardless of that, again, I think that that's where actually I know that's where our power is. And this empowermovement.com, he has templates that we can use to counter offer 5G smart meters, the V, and geoengineering. So that is the chemtrails. So you can actually take these not these notice of liabilities. You have to find out who is in charge of putting the 5G out, the smart meters out. And one lady here on on the islands, her name is Deborah Green. She actually did this notice of liability with the smart meters on the islands. And what happened was, before she did the notice of liability, you were going to be fined if you wanted to opt out of having a smart meter on your house. After she did the notice of liability, they took that down. They said it's free to opt out. 2 heads of the utility department, and I forget which department it was, stepped down, and they actually reorganized the entire department for smart meters. And so anyway, we didn't get them totally removed, but people who didn't want them anymore now were able to opt out without any fine or fee. And a couple of the main head honcho guys did step down. So that is the power that we do have with these notices of liability, but you have to do it. It's very particular. So in empowermovement.com, as well as that's in the book, and you can get the book Great Maui Land Grab book.com. But that's our power, and I think that's our kuleana, and that's why I think this is a game. This is a game for our soul, and part of that game is doing things you're afraid that make you scared. because that's growth. It took me a while to go into stores without masks on. I knew um, a lot of people not liking that. And just one more story around that, because I believe, again, this infinite intelligence is all around us, guiding us. And I remember that the store I wanted to go into, I knew something was going to happen. They weren't going to be happy with me going in without a mask on. So on the way there, I was literally praying and going, universe, infinite intelligence, I'm going to do this. And I know you got my back. I know you got my back. So I went in. I was actually able to get in. None of the clerks saw me because they were all looking away from the door. And when I was walking around, the people with masks on were smiling at me because I could kind of see their eyes were smiling, but none of the people with masks on said anything. And this was right in the middle of the whole thing. And I go up to check out, and a clerk was like, "You need to wear a mask." I said, "I'm medically exempt." Long story short, I'm about to get checked out. The manager comes up, she presses a button, stops the whole transaction, says, "We can't help you because you're not wearing a mask." I said, "First, I'm not killing anybody. Second, you can just press one button and I'll be out of here. And if not, tell me who the manager is. I want to speak to the manager of the shopping center. And who's in charge? Who's in charge?" So this woman comes down and she's wearing a mask and she says, "Would you wear a shield?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm not going to wear anything that dishonors the men and women who fought and died for my freedom." And she walked me back in the store and she checked me out and gave me a bag and was like, she's medically exempt. And that is the power we have when we do something that we're afraid to do, but we do it with aloha, with kindness, and with trusting in our infinite power, the infinite intelligence that is inspiring us to do this work. So I just want to say so much mahalo to you. Thank you, Jason, because what you're doing is huge, and especially with sharing something that is so far out there. That's the only thing that has made sense to me, that this world is a simulation and nothing we see is real. And I mean, it's real in the sense that we're in this game of sorts. So I know that you've had a major journey in your own life with 26 years, being in prison. And I just want to say much mahalo from me and from the Big Island and all of us in Hawaii, and for sharing the truth about Great Maui Land Grab, because it was murder. I went to the meeting with that was in Maui with the federal government and the Maui mayor, and the federal government was like, it was Congressman Archaix, and he said, "We're going to give you guys $3 billion to Maui, and what are you guys going to do with it? Because we need to have a plan." And the mayor goes, "Oh, we'll have a plan in October." Let me just tell you guys, Lahaina is still locked down after a year. They still have a border around Lahaina. They still have guards. You cannot go in
Listen, the
unless you
money,
live there.
okay, but that money that was made publicly known, it's known as doublespeak. He told the truth. We're going to give this $3 billion to Maui, but it wasn't for the people. It was for those who allowed this to happen. It was, they agreed to this. This was also contract. So yeah, it's terrible. But you know what?
Yeah.
This was a great presentation, and I have all your links in my description box, and I know throughout I've been paying attention. My mods have been posting some of your links, so it's I would very much appreciate uh, sending me a copy of both of your books, the one on
Oh, yeah.
health and
Sure.
wellness, and the new book. I will check them out. I will add them to my library. I will also reciprocate and send you whatever 2 books of mine you want. I've got boxes
Great.
full of books, but it's
Yes. I'll check him
it's a
out.
lot. There's a lot of activity in the chat. People were people were really feeling this. I mean, I don't really do a lot of exposés on current activity. I'm normally talking about things in the past, or I'm focusing on things on the future that we can see through the arithmetic. But this is good. It's a good deal, and it may have been fortuitous that you couldn't show a lot of those graphic pictures, because I don't really know how that would have gone down on YouTube anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's really disturbing with the one with the one that you did show around that. But again, everyone, this can happen anytime, anywhere. Check, watching your weather is really important. They do tell us what's coming. And obviously, Jason definitely knows. He understands the different things around weather. But do get a to-go bag or something. And then my highest recommendation is to get into nature. When it's no joke about hugging trees. It's like if you just put your hand on a tree, that's going to actually raise your frequency, raise your
Yes, it
vibration.
is.
So it's about getting in nature and starting to create that relationship with your higher power, because there is something. This I have a couple tattoos, but this is my favorite. This is the flower of life. I don't know if you can see it. It's a flower of life,
Mhm.
and this is a geometric shape that is in everything. This is not empty space. This is a geometric shape of the flower of life that is in everything, and it's in every cell of our body. We're always connected, and it is consciousness. There's a consciousness that's always around us. So I just want to say, connecting with that and trusting your own journey. Trusting your
You
own
see,
journey.
you see that Layla Bloom and Riyadh Ali both said that when you were talking, because they're
Yep.
referring to a video that I have. It's very short, but it's called Power in the Grove. There is power in the groves. And I'm explaining in that video that if you find yourself in a weak point in life, or you find yourself in need of projecting or trying to get more from within than you actually contain, then the best way to do it is to use a tree in a forest, because the roots are a neural network that intertwine with everything living throughout that entire forest, and it's all borrowing and exchanging information. And the leaves aren't just leaves. In the wind, they act as resonators. And this amazing field of energy that you tap into a forest can be tapped in just by interfacing your personal field with the field from one tree, which is connected to everything else. And this is the best way to amplify anything in your life that you want to accomplish. It sounds stupid. I get it. It sounds like some fantasy Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but actually this is one of the best methods
Mhm.
ever to creating new circumstances in your life, or changing the whole trajectory of your life. Is
Yeah.
to, whatever is bothering you, is to give it to the tree.
That's
It's
so
serious.
true. That's
It's that
I
simple.
mean, they want us to believe that, they want us to think it's poo-poo. They want us to think it's ridiculous and it's a joke, but it's not. Everything we've been taught is inverted, and
Did you
they
say
don't
poo
want us.
poo?
Yes.
You said poo poo on my channel.
I
I'm
said
just
poo-poo.
kidding.
It's a
I'm just
poo-poo,
kidding.
the whole thing, and everything is inverted. And so, we don't understand. I walk, sometimes I'll walk barefoot. Uh, gardening. They want us out of nature. They don't want us. There is a power here that I cannot describe to you, especially when you get into the ocean. That's why they want us to be away from the ocean. That's another thing that's happening in Lahaina, is the homeowners. They've actually cleared the land, and they put rocks on the foundation without the owner's permission, and the owners now have to remove those rocks. And this is including the places that are right next to the ocean, which they want to move homes away from the ocean because of climate change. But the homeowners are needing to do that on their own dime, and they're not telling the homeowners where they can put. I mean, just so many things. Lahaina is still struggling, so do send your prayers over to Lahaina, and 10% of my book goes to different charities to support the people there. And I'll be
But as
there
long,
next
as
week.
long as they're not FEMA.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the other thing too, is FEMA's doing the exact same thing in Asheville that it did in Maui, in Lahaina. Exact same thing with keeping the supplies that people need. There was actually storage containers in Lahaina that held a ton of
Yeah.
water that were not given to the people, and they're also slashing tires in North Carolina, in Asheville, for different trucks that are bringing supplies over. So it's really sending, I pray a ton, sending some strength, inner strength to those people over there. And I do believe each one of us came here for a reason of some type of
FEMA,
journey.
yeah, FEMA is the enemy. It's just a branch of the enemy. It's. I don't want to go into the details, but the the creation of the Department of Homeland Security was the restructuring of the U.S. government, and the president used to sit at a table daily and get briefs from FBI, CIA, DOD, Air Force. I mean, all of them. Everybody in there would give their little 2-minute spiel about what's going on, and the president would have a good grasp of everything, because these were the heads of major networks of people. So
Mm-hmm.
he would get his brief. But when the United States created the Department of Homeland Security, they created a head of Homeland Security that now sat in that seat instead of the president. Most people don't know this, but the president does not get briefed on these issues anymore. Presidents are just puppets. And as you can
Yep.
see, we've got two buffoons up there, Kamala Harris, Biden, and I mean, I know there's a lot of people that support Trump because he says
Mm-hmm.
the right things, but he's a buffoon too. He signed the
He's for the
contract.
business. Exactly. He is for the business. It's like one thing, one is a Satanist and one is a businessman, and neither one of them, Trump did do some good things for the country when he was in, but neither one of them are for the people. And why in the world do us slaves, we're in a slave system, think that we get to elect the person who runs the country, who runs the corporation that keeps us enslaved? If none of them are talking about how taxes are actually voluntary, and if they're not telling you about the whole system is
Yeah,
the whole United States is a corporation, if none of them are telling you the truth, then that means they're in on it. That means they're both in on it. So I know
right,
that people want
right,
a savior, but the person who's going to save you is the person you see when you look in the mirror. So go trust that person that you see looking back at you in your reflection, and trust the inner guidance that you have that's telling you what your kuleana is, what your responsibility is right now, why you came here. You didn't just come here to do your job, to wake up and go do your job every single day and not take any actions in what actually creates your life, as far as the structure of what's happening. It's like, no. It's like, we are going to the planning department. We have one more meeting with the planning department tomorrow night, and there's going to be a ton of us there telling the planning department what we think of their general plan for the Big Island and what we'd want to see instead. And then we're going to be taking action after the fact, and we're just trusting in this higher power, and we're also preparing by growing food and doing the things that we need to do here. So you guys, trust in your higher self, because what's happening in the next couple of weeks with this election is all a show. The whole thing is a sham. People we don't elect our president. And we want to think we do, because we want to feel safe in the fact that maybe we might be saved. But you're right. The whole plan is satanic, and it's coming down. And that's why take care of your ohana, your family, and make sure everybody's got a plan. The other thing too is with Lahaina, they didn't have a plan. But how could they? The children, 3,000 children, were home either with their aunties and uncles or by themselves. The best warning system in the world wasn't turned on, so there was no plan. So have a plan. Have a plan for you and your family. Have a to-go bag ready in your car that you could just grab just in case. And then if nothing happens, then that's even better. But at least you guys are prepared.
I agree. And with that, we're going to sign out. This has been a great show. You guys can see her links in the description box, and you can go. I'm pretty sure your book is on Amazon, right, Michelle?
Yep, it's on Amazon. If you go to my website, greatmauilandgrabbook.com, I actually
All
get
right.
paid quicker and a little bit more, and then 10% from
Well,
that income goes to support Lahaina. And then if you go to my YouTube channel, I'd be more than appreciative of a subscriber, because my subscription froze for after I started reporting on Maui, I didn't get any more subscribers for almost a year on my YouTube channel. So
Wow.
so yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah, it
let me ask,
literally
let
froze.
me ask you this. How far are you away, and how have you ever met my childhood friend? My best friend from my childhood, Jeff Stout, lives on your island.
Where does he live?
Somewhere in
No.
Hawaii. I don't know if Jeff's listening or not. He's normally in the comment section, but I don't know if
Well,
he's here today. But he's been in
well,
Hawaii with his whole family for a while. He was just in the comment section a couple videos ago.
I live on Big Island, over on the Hilo side, and I go to Kona side a lot. It's my
Yeah.
favorite. Kona is my favorite part. And if you come, I want to see you because I want to host you, take you through my favorite part, which is the Peace Garden. The Peace Garden is over in Captain
Peace
Cook
garden,
area.
huh? All right.
Yeah, and it's and then we go snorkeling at Honau now, which is the city of refuge, and it's with the best
Yeah.
snorkeling spot. And we got to
I
get
would
some
have to
shaka tacos. Shaka
I would have
tacos.
to fly. I would have to fly to Hawaii because I spent my childhood with my dad in aviation. Cessnas, pipelines, Beechcraft, Bonanzas. Yeah, when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, my adopted dad used to take me all the time. I used to help him with the planes, and I used to do touch and goes, and I used to do the call sign. I still remember our call sign, N499 or 32 Delta. I used to call it for him all the time. And then the towers all knew me. I couldn't even disguise my voice. Boy, put your dad on that radio. So, so
That's
I would
awesome.
yeah, so I would have to fly to Hawaii because I may be a pretty brave guy in certain circumstances, but I've read too much. I have read too many mariner logs. I've read too many HMS stories from Britain. All the old listen. There's krakens in that water. I'm not getting on a boat. I'm not going out there. I'm not doing that. I can't. One example is the French warship Electon in the 1890s that got attacked by a kraken. I mean, they literally had to turn their howitzers in and shoot tentacles. Yeah, I'm not going in that water. I just don't. Even at the beach, at the beach, once that stuff hits about the mid thigh, I'm coming back. I'm coming back on the sand. I'm just not
I
doing
don't
it.
know, Jason. You'd see the dolphins. Oh my
I
gosh.
don't care.
Anyway,
I don't. I don't.
I see what you're saying.
Listen.
I see what you're saying.
Listen, I'm going to tell you now. I'm the guy. Weird things happen to me. Everybody in my friends and family know I'm the guy that will decide to go swim out to the sandbar, and I'll discover a new species of shark just like that. I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Yeah,
Well, you
Hawaii
would
might
love
be
the shaka
beautiful, but I'm
tacos.
staying out that water.
Best shaka tacos, and the Peace Garden is phenomenal. So if you ever come here, you guys go to Poliaku Peace Garden on the Big Island. You would love it. There's 7 different shrines of different religions. There's a labyrinth. There's a 2-scale galaxy garden, a Milky Way galaxy garden, 100 square foot long, made out of flowers. Let's just say
Wow.
that. It's amazing.
Wow. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna go ahead and hit this outro, guys. And this is great. This is a great talk. I'm impressed. I appreciate you coming on my channel and sharing all this. My
Yeah.
next video is kind of like a spillway between these topics because I'm gonna be talking about the disappearance of Flight 370, and there's a lot of talk. We just entertained about this is a technology based phenomenon. What's going on is technological, and the U.S. government or some crypto organization is the culprit. But this is the same thing people say about Flight 370 in that there was some funny business and all that. I'm going to show you otherwise. I'm going to show you that even the U.S. government in their reports admits that there's something in the sky and they've been watching it. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign out with that. That's my next video. Michelle Melendez, you make sure you watch that next video. You may have some aha moments about Lahaina.
Well, I want to tell you one more thing about that because somebody just sent me a video that I have not looked at that is actually showing something in the sky, and these chemtrails. He says the chemtrails are meant for us not to see it, but there's something there. I'll send you the video once I see it.
Michelle, I'm just going to give one little peek. Many of the chemtrails, those aren't jets making those chemtrails, but they have the ability, once you're observing them, to mimic a jet. That's all I'm going to talk about. It's a very
Aloha,
interesting
everyone.
thing. The sky is full of activity, my friends. I'm going to hit that outro. Great talk, Michelle. Great talk.
All right. Aloha.
Aloha. All right. See you later.